It's always a great idea to level your cakes before icing them. They end up looking crisper, sharper, and more professional. But then you end up with a whole pile of offcuts. You could eat these just like this, but today I'm going to show you another idea to get the most out of them. Hi, I'm Taryn. Welcome to my kitchen studio. This is where I like to have fun with food and share tips and tricks to make your food not only taste delicious, but look fantastic too. And I can't believe this channel is a whole year old this week. I thought in this video we could turn these offcuts into a simple first birthday celebratory roll cake. This vegan chocolate mud cake I've got here is actually the same cake I made in one of the first videos I ever made. But it's still the only chocolate mud cake recipe I ever use. If you'd like a laugh, go and watch that video, but just excuse the awkwardness and hesitations. I still don't like being in front of the camera, but I'm getting more comfortable with it, and I have so much more I want to share with you. I'm going to crumble these cake bits up into a big bowl. I think it'll be best if it's very finely crumbed with no big hunks in it. You could try blitzing it in a food processor, but it actually crumbles very easily just using your fingers. I'm going to add a good blob of buttercream. This buttercream is left over from a cake I've recently made, but it's an easy buttercream to make. All you need is butter and icing sugar. You use roughly 1 part butter to 2 parts icing sugar. Beat the butter until it's light and fluffy. Then add the icing sugar a little bit at a time. This ratio is a rough guide. Depending on the temperature in your kitchen and the temperature of the butter, sometimes it takes a little less icing sugar and sometimes a little more. All you want is a fairly stiff consistency like this. I've also got this raspberry powder, so I'm going to add some for a bit of extra flavour. You could add any flavours in here, coffee powder or orange zest, even chopped nuts would be delicious. Now we'll mix this into the cake crumbs. I've made a few cakes on this channel over the last year. They've all used basic cake decorating techniques like levelling, crumb coats and smoothing, and are achievable with limited equipment. My favourite cake decorating tools are a palette knife and a piping bag. I use them often. They can help you turn a plain cake into something that looks professional. See how it's all coming together in a bit of a lump just by mixing it around. This is actually quite pliable now, so we're ready to get rolling. The best way to do this is to lay out a piece of plastic wrap, put the crumb mixture on top and flatten it out a little. Then add another piece of plastic wrap and roll it out. We're trying to get a rectangular shape that's roughly the same thickness all over. It should roll out quite easily and hold together. If it's crumbling, you might not have added enough icing. I'm just making it slightly more square, but we will trim off the edges anyway. Now I'm going to add some more buttercream icing and carefully spread it over the whole surface, apart from the last little bit. I leave this bit uniced because when we roll it up, the icing tends to roll out a little too, and we don't want it coming out further than the end of our cake. Using the plastic wrap to help with the rolling, I start with a little fold over and then gently roll it up. Make sure you don't roll the plastic wrap into the roll. I don't think that'll go down well when you come to eating it. It's a good idea to pop it into the fridge or freezer at this point to give it time to set and harden. It'll also make putting on the ganache a whole lot easier. But before we do that, it's a good time to trim the edges, to square it up and give the edges that crisp finish. I've got some slightly warmed ganache here, ready to pour over the roll cake. Ganache is really easy to make too. I use a ratio of 1 part cream to 2 parts chocolate. All you need to do is bring the cream to the boil, turn off the heat and whisk in the chocolate until it's smooth and glossy. I prefer to make my ganache a day ahead of using it so that it can cool properly. Then, just before you use it, you can heat it to the perfect consistency you need it to be. Today I want it runny enough to pour over the cake, but not too runny that it all runs off and doesn't really stick. I'll cover the edge first and then pour over the centre. Having given the cake time in the freezer, it's cool, and so the ganache sets fairly quickly as you spoon it on. Notice how I'm doing this on a wire rack so the excess ganache can drip through. I'll pop this back in the fridge while I make some chocolate decorations. While that's in the fridge, I also want to say thank you to those of you who have watched and supported me over the last year. And a special thank you to those of you who take the time to comment on my videos. I love getting your feedback. I can't wait to see where the channel will go in the next year. Let me know if there's any topics you're particularly interested in. It's our first birthday, so I'll pipe a little chocolate one to stick in the top. I've got some melted white chocolate here and a paper piping bag. Look how easily we can create the shape of a one using a template and fill it in effortlessly, all because we have so much control with a piping bag. The first video I uploaded was about how to make a paper piping bag and melt chocolate. I often refer people back to it because it's such a handy skill. If I shake the paper a little, it's like magic and smooths off the chocolate beautifully. I'm going to define the edge a little by going over it again. This will give a nice raised and crisp finish to the chocolate. This will only take a few minutes to set. There's still some chocolate in the piping bag, so maybe I'll pipe over the roll cake to decorate it a little. Don't you love the dark and white chocolate contrast? Stark contrasts do look visually appealing. This is a good time to move the cake onto a serving plate. Use an egg lifter or a palette knife, anything that's relatively thin and flat. I'll carefully stick the number one into the centre, being careful not to break it. The chocolate is harder than the ganache and cake, so it'll slide in without much trouble. Then I'll sprinkle over some freeze-dried raspberries. An assortment of berries or fresh fruit would look fantastic on here, but this is all I have today, and I think for a creation made from offcuts, this is a pretty good celebratory effort. A couple of months ago, I made this flamingo cake. It's relatively quick and easy to make. If you like this video, I'm sure you'll find this one interesting too. See you over there. Happy offcut cake making and happy first birthday to us.